everybody, and welcome to Self-Help FAQ, the YouTube channel. I'm Barb, your host, and this is video 3 in a 12-part series having to do with boundaries, how to make them and how to keep them in place. And today's video is about what we call self-negotiation, or when you're going back and forth and can't decide on something and why that happens. And how is this different from my first video about self-trust? Well, when you have lack of self-trust, you're saying to yourself, I don't know what the right decision is. But self-negotiation, or going back and forth in your head when you're trying to make a decision, that's about, I know what the right decision should be, but I keep trying to talk myself out of it. And why is that? So if you're someone that goes back and forth a lot with trying to make decisions about a situation or self-negotiating, and it's very hard to describe how tiring that really is, because you go back and forth, you talk yourself into something, and then you talk yourself out of something, and then you decide, but then you reopen the decision, and this can go on over and over. So nothing looks wrong from the outside, but inside it feels very noisy. So today I want to talk about why that happens. And the answer isn't getting more discipline or more motivation, but better willpower. So in other words, it means getting clarity. Clarity is what you need. When you're negotiating with yourself, it doesn't sound very dramatic internally. It sounds like things like, just one more time, maybe I'm just overthinking this, or I'll deal with this later, or maybe it's not that bad. So you're not avoiding decisions altogether. You're just revisiting them over and over. So it's the revisiting of the decisions over and over that feels tiring. It's not the decision itself. When the mind keeps revisiting a decision over and over, it's usually because something inside of you hasn't been settled yet, not logically, emotionally. If you haven't clarified what you're willing to tolerate, or what you're protecting, or what you're no longer up for negotiation, your mind keeps the issue alive, hoping new information will appear. This isn't weakness. It's your system trying to protect you when you don't have that clarity that you need. Maybe you're just trying to be flexible, keep your options open. But here's the difference between flexibility and negotiating with yourself. Flexibility says, I've decided, but I'm open to adjusting to new information. But negotiation says, I don't actually feel settled, but I'm bargaining for relief. And that's the key word, relief, right there. So, because a lot of people, they're trying to run away from things that feel uncomfortable. And we will go into that more on our follow-up Friday. So stay tuned for that. So negotiation is exhausting because it never resolves anything. Clarity doesn't make you rigid. It makes you settled. And settled decisions are quieter. So when you have clarity, a few subtle things will happen. You stop rehearsing conversations. You stop explaining yourself internally. You stop running, mental simulations of what if. And that's not because the decision was easy. It's because it was anchored. When you have clarity, it reduces your mental noise because there's nothing left to negotiate about. So you're anchored in that case. Peace isn't about getting everything right. It's about stopping the arguments with yourself going forward. So make no mistake, clarity is not about having certain outcomes or being certain about what kind of outcomes you might have once you've made your decision. Clarity is not confidence that it won't hurt. And clarity is not having every single answer. Clarity is knowing why you chose, what you're prioritizing, and what trade-offs you are accepting. When those things are named, then your mind stops renegotiating. So let's make this practical. Without clarity, your inner dialogue sounds like, I don't love this, but I guess it's fine. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Or I'll just deal with it. But when you have clarity, it sounds more like, I don't like this, but I'm choosing it because it protects my stability right now. Or this cost me something, but I know why I'm accepting that cost. Or this doesn't align with what matters to me, so I'm not going to be continuing to talk myself into it. Again, clarity doesn't make the decision painless. It makes the decisions settled. Once the reason is clear, then your brain's going to stop reopening the arguments. Okay, just to demonstrate a little bit further, let me give you a situation here. And I'm going to show probably some slides to get through this one. Just to give you an example of someone in a situation where they are going back and forth in their thinking, and then they finally reach clarity. And this is what it looks like. Here's a woman, we'll call her Sue, and she's in a shaky relationship. Her partner regularly cancels plans with her at the last minute, not once or twice, but often. You know, sometimes it's work related, sometimes it's friends, sometimes there's no explanation at all. Nothing dramatic enough to point to and say, hey, that's the problem. But she feels disappointed over and over. So, this is what's happening in her head. This is the self-negotiation part. So this is what the inner back and forth sounds like. She could be saying, well, he's really busy right now. Or I don't want to be needy. At least he tells me. Some guys wouldn't. If I bring it up, I'll sound demanding. Maybe I just expect too much. He does care, he just shows it differently. I'll see how next week goes. So you see, she's not confused about how she feels. She's trying to talk herself into staying comfortable with something that keeps hurting. So that's self-negotiating. So what she actually knows but hasn't settled yet, under all of that, there's a quieter truth. She doesn't feel like a priority. She's always waiting. She feels foolish for being disappointed again. And she wouldn't treat someone she cared about this way. She knows this, but she hasn't allowed herself to stop arguing with it. So now clarity begins when she asks a different kind of question. Not, how do I make this work? Not, how do I say this without causing conflict? But what am I actually agreeing to by staying quiet? And the answer is uncomfortable but honest. I'm agreeing to be optional. That's the moment that things shift. So clarity doesn't sound dramatic. It sounds like, I want a relationship where plans matter. This pattern isn't working for me. I don't need to convince myself anymore. I know why I feel unsettled, and I'm done arguing with it. So she's no longer trying to make herself okay with it. So this is the anchoring decision. Her decision is not a fight, an ultimatum, a breakup text in anger. Her decision is internal first. If this doesn't change after I speak up once clearly, I won't stay. That's the anchor. She may still talk to him. She may still give it time, but she has stopped negotiating with herself. So this decision brings her peace, because now she's not replaying conversations. She's not lowering her expectations internally. She's not blaming herself for wanting more. She knows what she's watching for. She knows what she'll do if it continues. And that's where the peace comes from. So the core takeaway here is that self-negotiating sounds like, maybe I can live with this. But clarity sounds like, I know what I'm willing and not willing to live with. One keeps you stuck, and the other one lets you breathe again. So I hope you could relate to that example of Sue and her self-negotiating and how she arrives at clarity with herself and her inner thoughts. And this brings me to this week's journal question for Monday, for the Monday video. And the question is, what decision am I still going back and forth on, and what haven't I clearly decided about yet? So write about that, think about that, and see if you can get some clarity, a way to make peace with yourself and your decisions and your decision making, and to stop going back and forth and driving yourself crazy, making yourself overtired about these things. And so you're not solving something today, you're just listening for what needs to be named or what wants to be named. So if you're tired of going back and forth in your head, it doesn't mean you're bad at deciding. It just means you haven't given yourself permission yet to be clear. And so clarity doesn't rush you. It doesn't force you. It just lets you stop arguing with yourself. And that's where you're going to get some peace. Peace comes from clarity. Just remember that. I hope to see you this Friday for Follow-Up Friday. Oh, we've got a couple of doozies for questions, and both of the questions have gotten me emotional. So I'm trying to spend some time calming down, trying to answer them logically and from a place of empathy and a place of clarity, because that's what it's all about, clarity. And so I hope to see you on Friday. Thanks a lot for tuning in. And if you have any more questions, feel free to put them in the comments or write to me at barb@selfhelpfaq.com. And I will see what I can do for you. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye for now.